Hey everyone, welcome to our anime-inspired Pastel Factory Explainer for MAF201. Today, we're going to make process costing not just totally understandable, but honestly pretty fun and colorful too. If you've ever stared at those massive accounting tables and just felt completely overwhelmed, take a deep breath. By the time we finish today, you're going to be a process costing master.
But before we even look at a single number, I want you to picture something for me. Imagine our bright, bustling pastel cupcake factory. The bell rings at midnight, the shift ends, but the conveyor belt still has hundreds of half-frosted cupcakes sitting right there on the line. What actually happens to those half-finished products left on the factory floor? I mean, in continuous production, we can't exactly just throw them in the trash, right? We have to account for yesterday's leftover batches today. And that, my friends, is exactly what we're solving for in this explainer.
Here's what we're looking at today. 1. Welcome to process costing. 2. Meet WAM and FIFO. 3. Calculating equivalent units. 4. Mastering cost and evaluation. 5. The WAM versus FIFO showdown. And 6. Exam tips and a final summary. Let's conquer this step by step.
Section 1. Welcome to process costing. Let's dive right in and use that factory metaphor to make these accounting rules super concrete. So the real star of our show today is OWIP, or Opening Work in Progress. By definition, because production is a continuous activity, there's basically always a possibility for opening work in progress to exist. Simply put, these are partly completed units from continuous production that just kind of hang around at the start of a new period. Or to use our factory terms, these are yesterday's half-baked cupcakes. Our main goal in MAF201 process costing is figuring out exactly how to value these partially finished treats today, right alongside today's totally fresh batch.
Section 2. Meet WAM and FIFO. To figure out how to actually value those leftovers, let's meet the two very distinct accounting managers running our floor. First up, meet Mr. WAM, the weighted average method manager. We like to call him the mixer. His whole philosophy? Well, he believes OIP should just be physically merged together with the units introduced in the current period. He literally just throws yesterday's cupcakes and today's cupcakes into a giant smoothie and calculates one single average cost per unit. On the flip side, we have Miss FIFO, the first in, first out manager. She is all about the queue. She absolutely insists, that yesterday's half-finished queue must be completely finished first before she'll even lay a finger on today's fresh batch. She keeps their costs entirely separate.
Now, no matter which manager is running the floor, to prep a process account, you've got to follow the holy trinity of process costing steps. Step 1, the statement of equivalent units. Step 2, the statement of cost. And Step 3, evaluation. Consider this your personal roadmap for exam success. If you just follow these 3 steps in this exact order, you literally can't get lost.
Section 3. Calculating equivalent units. Let's jump into Step 1 and break down those dense accounting tables piece by piece.
Okay, let's look at Mr. WAM's equivalent units table for Process B. Remember, WAM is the mixer, so he just takes the 2,000 units of opening WIP and merges them perfectly with the current production to get 4,000 completed units. Notice how they're grouped together at a neat 100% completion for both materials and conversion costs? He doesn't care at all how much work was done yesterday. For the CWIP, or closing work in progress, which are the 1,000 half-finished units left at the end of today, he just records their current completion state, like 70% for materials and 80% for conversion. Super simple, right? Everything's just mixed.
Now this next part brilliantly shows what happens when Ms. FIFO takes over. Take a look at her equivalent units table. She totally separates the 2,000 OWIP units from the 2,000 fresh current production units. But here is the absolute secret to FIFO. For the OWIP row, we only calculate the remaining work needed to finish them today. Think about it. If yesterday they were 80% complete with materials, today they only need 20% more. So, 20% of 2,000 units gives us 400 equivalent units for material. We are literally only accounting for the fresh frosting we're adding today.
So here is an absolutely crucial golden exam tip for FIFO. When you're looking at the degree of completion for opening WIP under the FIFO method, you must subtract the given percentage in the question from 100%. If the question says OWIP is 70% complete, you have to assume that was already done in the previous process. You only process the remaining 30% today. Never, and I mean never, copy the question's percentage directly into a FIFO table. Section 4. Mastering cost and evaluation. Now that we've got our units sorted, let's figure out the cost per unit and tackle that final evaluation.
Let's swing by Mr. Wem's desk first. Since he mixes everything together, his cost calculation does the exact same thing. For materials, he grabs the previous cost from yesterday's OIW, let's call it RM 3,200, and he adds it straight to the current cost incurred today, which is RM 4,500. This gives us a total merge cost of RM 7,700. Then he just divides that total by his equivalent units, which was 4,700, to get an average cost of about RM 1.64 per unit. Previous plus current equals total. Really easy to remember.
But Mrs. FIFO, she strictly separates everything. Check out her cost table. Her calculation for cost per equivalent unit completely ignores previous costs. She only uses the current cost incurred today. So she takes only today's material cost of RM 4,500 and divides it by today's equivalent units, which is 3,100, to get $1.45 per unit. Yesterday's costs are kept safely locked away in a separate drawer until the final evaluation.
Finally, we hit the evaluation stage, which is where we value our finished goods. For WAM, it's just straightforward multiplication. 4,000 completed units times our total average cost per unit of RM 8.34, giving us roughly RM $33,353. But FIFO definitely has layers. To value completed goods, she adds yesterday's brought forward OWIP cost, plus the cost to finish that OWIP today, plus the cost of the entirely new completed units. It takes a tiny bit more math, giving us RM 34,217, but it's incredibly precise. Notice, though, both managers use their respective unit costs to value the closing WIP, net normal loss, and any abnormal gains.
Section 5, the WAM versus FIFO showdown. We've seen them in action, so let's bring it all together. Heads up, this is a highly tested area for theory questions in MAF201. All right, this is your ultimate cheat sheet table. Seriously, take a mental screenshot of this right now. Feature 1, OIWIP percentage. WAM ignores it entirely. FIFO uses it, calculating 100% minus the given percentage. Feature 2, statement of cost. WAM adds previous and current costs together. FIFO uses current costs only. Feature 3, the equivalent units output lines. WAM just has completed production, CWIP, normal loss, and abnormal loss or gain. FIFO breaks that top line into two separate things, OIWIP completion and fully fresh completed production. If you lock this table into your memory, you will never mix up their rules on exam day.
Section 6, exam tips and final summary. We're in the home stretch now, and this part is completely dedicated to helping you avoid those heartbreaking mistakes on your final exam.
Since I really want to see you all get full marks, I've got to warn you about the top 3 mistakes students always make. Number 1, students say they're using the WAM method but then start calculating OIP percentages. Remember, WAM is the mixer. Just ignore those percentages. Number 2, in the WAM cost statement, students flat out forget to add the previous cost to the current cost. They just use current cost, which basically turns WAM into a messy version of FIFO. Just don't do it. And number 3, messing up abnormal gain. Remember, abnormal gain units act as negative units in your equivalent statement because they're essentially extra good units we didn't expect to have. You got to keep those brackets around them.
I'll leave you with this thought as we close up the factory doors for today. Process costing isn't about memorizing tables. It's about following the story of a product from start to finish. Whether Mr. WAM is mixing batches or Miss FIFO is making them queue up in a line, every single number represents a physical step in making something great. You are totally prepared to ace your MAF201 quiz now. But think about this before you go. If you were the CEO of this pastel cupcake factory and you were trying to impress your investors with higher current profits, which manager would you hire, WAM or FIFO? I'll let you think on that one. See you in the next explainer,